is Thursday, the 4th day of May 2023. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch and Hope TV, the station where you look and live. I'm Tess Njenga and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Murithi. Tonight on Candid Conversations, we will be talking about parenting teenagers as a follow-up conversation with Reverend Jane Jasmine Nganga, the Secretary General of Global Apostolic Leaders Network, GALN, who survived domestic violence together with her children. Tonight, we focus on their journey of recovery and lessons in their new chapter. It is a conversation that will inspire hope, reminding you that God can change your story, so stick around for that. We are streaming live on our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Hope TV Kenya, and would appreciate your feedback. First, let us take a look at the day's stories. The United Nations UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has congratulated Kenyans for her contribution to promoting regional peace. Guterres, who is in the country for a two-day official visit, said the UN will continue to support the efforts made by Kenya, IGAD, and the African Union, that is the AU, in ensuring the cessation of hostilities between the two groups fighting for leadership in Sudan. Grace Ahati brings us that report.
On his first day of his official visit to Kenya, the United Nations UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres indicated that top on the agenda during his visit with President William Ruto is the security and humanitarian situation in Sudan. Speaking during a banquet dinner at State House, Guterres said the United Nations appreciates Kenya's role in Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo DRC, Ethiopia and Sudan in seeking long-lasting peace in the countries.
When one sees today the tragedy of Sudan, it is clear your personal leadership, together with the countries of IGAD, together with the African Union, and we are fully ready to support it in trying to make sense of this horrible situation in which two leaders are fighting each other and destroying their own country. And again, Kenya is in the front line of addressing the problem and doing everything to solve it. In the DRC, we have MONUSCO, and we know how difficult it is to operate in the DRC. And we are extremely grateful for what has been the Kenyan initiative, the Nairobi process, and the courage of Kenya sending Kenyan military in a very, very, I would say, dangerous situation.
Guterres, at the same time, hailed Kenya's efforts in the fight against climate change, pointing out that taking urgent measures to deal with climate change and its adverse effects is necessary to save livelihoods.
But one thing needs to be done immediately. It's to reverse the trend that is amplifying inequalities and that is making our Agenda 2030 and the Agenda 2063 of the African Union becoming a dream instead of a reality. We still are on time to start reversing this trend, but that needs a lot of courage, and that needs those that today have the power to understand that it is better to share their power and the resources than to face a world that will be condemned to climate havoc and to more instability, more conflict, more wars, which means that nobody will benefit from it.
On his part, President William Ruto noted that Kenya, in collaboration with other countries, regional organizations and the United Nations, is providing political leadership in solving complex challenges facing the region, such as promoting peace in Eastern DRC. In addition, the head of state reiterated that the country intends to work with all international partners to restore peace and security in Sudan.
In our region, the Horn of Africa and the Great Lakes, we continue to face many crises and natural calamities. Kenya, in collaboration with other member states, regional organizations, and the UN, provides political leadership towards resolving some of these very complex challenges. Specifically, Kenya has taken a leading role in championing peace in Eastern DRC through the EAC-led Nairobi process. We are keen to work with all international partners to restore peace and security in the Sudan.
This comes even as Sudan ambassador to Kenya Kamal Gumara has said that the Sudanese government is set to send a special envoy to update President Ruto, who is the IGAD leader, on the current situation in the country. Intense clashes between Sudan's military, led by de facto leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the country's main paramilitary force RSF, led by former warlord General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, have killed hundreds of people and sent thousands fleeing for safety as a burgeoning civil war threatens to destabilize the wider region. In a statement, the Embassy of Sudan in Nairobi has termed the RSF rebellion that began on the 15th of April as a failed coup, adding that a new humanitarian truce for 7 days has been agreed upon starting today, and the two warring sides have agreed in principle to hold talks in Saudi Arabia on the humanitarian situation in Sudan. It added that the RSF rebels are holding the capital Khartoum hostage and detaining army officers, senior officials and university students, including women and children, and using them as human shields. They have also attacked and looted various embassies and targeted a Turkish plane that was evacuating Turkish citizens. However, the embassy says life for ordinary citizens in the areas cleared from rebels in Khartoum state is gradually improving. Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Grace Ahati.
Thank you, Grace, for that report. Now, the Shanzu Law Courts have released televangelist Ezekiel Odero on a 1.5 million cash bail and 3 million bond. His lawyers, Cliff Ombeta and Danstan Omari, pleaded with the court to reject the application by the police, seeking to detain him for 30 more days. Odero was arrested last week in connection with the Shakahola massacre and spent the weekend in custody. The court has also ordered Ezekiel to report to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, once every week. Mombasa High Court yesterday ordered the Inspector General Japhet Koome to reopen Ezekiel's New Life International Church. His elated followers flocked the court in jubilation, celebrating his release. This comes as questions remain over what relationship exists between Pastor Ezekiel and Paul Mackenzie, both of whose ministry operations are in the county of Kilifi.
Your Honor, we are for the respondent. Probably the state can highlight, because the state is here, under which authority have they closed the church and also the TV station. Probably they might be telling us on the basis of that. We don't need to go to another court because the state has not dragged our plan to any other court. It is this court. Probably, Your Honor, the state can highlight on those two issues, and if they run away from it, then let the whole world know that the utterances of public officers on TV were illegal. They were not formed by any authority, by the judiciary.
When there is a fundamental right, and that one of worship is one, to go and try to stop a fundamental right, somebody must go to court. For you to go to court, then you must get orders.
The family of a young British aristocrat who was tortured to death in a Kenyan police cell in Diani in 2012 are demanding justice after 4 policemen accused of murder were released by the Court of Appeal. Their son, Alexander Monson, aged 28, died in 2012 after being brutally tortured and struck in the head in a cell in the coastal town of Diani, where he was being held for a minor drugs offense. 3 Court of Appeal judges Gatembu Kairu, Pauline Nyamweya and Jesse Lesit on 28th of April 2023 quashed the convictions and set aside the sentences against the 4 policemen following their successful appeal case. Addressing the media in Mombasa, the family of the deceased expressed their dissatisfaction with the Court of Appeal ruling and vowed not to relent in pursuit of justice for their son until justice is served.
The 4 cops are outside. In fact, one of them, he was ordered to report to prison because he was sick or he'd broken his leg, but he never showed himself up in prison. Definitely there is a cover-up on the part of the police. Police, where they are mandated to safeguard the rule of law, unexpectedly, police were dragging. The inquest took almost 2 years. A case which is so open, so easy to conclude, because he was arrested in the allegation that he was smoking bang. He was put in cell. The autopsy showed clearly that he was beaten in a cell, even though the police denied. And we can't understand why justice delayed, justice denied.
Kwa hiyo kipindi yote tumekuwa kwa hii safari hawajaridhika na Court of Appeal kuwaachilia wale watu. Kila kitu iko wazi. Kwa hivyo wanakuja hapa kuomba na kutaka haki itendeke. Manake mama amesema she's 70 years. Mzee pia hapa wanasema wamechoka, wametumia a lot of resources. Muhuri imekuwa miaka yote 12 hiyo, zaidi ya 12, unyo kwa unyo wakifatizia. Is very expensive to go. Imagine familia hii iko juu namna hii inajieza, na je wale watu maskini, kumaanisha kuwa nchi yetu maskini hakuna haki. Kama hao wametumia resources zote, babake Lord mwenyewe amekuja, British High Commission imeingilia hapa ku monitor, kuangalia hapa na pale, lakini tunaona bado kuna mchezo, kwa kuwa wale ni mapolisi na wale walikuwa powerful. Manake mmoja alikuwa pale ni chief inspector, na watu onekana walikuwa tu wanafanya kizungulunkuti kupeleka tu watu mwisho waachiliwe. We are not happy, hatujafurahia, na tuaomba sasa, na tuataka, si kuomba, tuataka hii file iangaliwe, i-review. Hata ikiwezekana kama itakuwa 9-10 yote iende pia kwa Human Rights Court Arusha, iende Arusha International. Manake tume lose faith na hizi institutions zetu. Wale watu wameachiliwa kwa njia moja mysteriously, hatuelewi kwa nini. Na pia anahofia usalama wake. Kabla kesi zikiendelea, walikuwa wale mapolisi wale ambao walifungwa walikuwa wanatishia.
Moving on, a Muhaya Member of Parliament, Amboko Milemba, has been appointed as the new ANC Party Secretary General. The legislator who will succeed Simon Kiguru was unveiled at the Mudavadi Center. Milemba has affirmed his commitment to ensure the party remains an independent entity under the Kenya Kwanza coalition. The legislator has further announced plans by Issa Timami-led party to roll out grassroots mobilization to revamp it in readiness of the next generation election. Meanwhile, Milemba has lauded the move by the opposition Azimio la Umoja coalition to call off the anti-government protest that had been scheduled for tomorrow, stating that Parliament is the only way to resolve the various issues of concern. He, however, reiterated that the Kenya Kwanza government will not cow to calls for a handshake which will automatically kill the opposition and its oversight role.
I'm very glad to be here today, and in this meeting, which is under the umbrella of the party leadership, and we are having a number of deputy party leaders who are here with me. We are having a number of directors. We are having the national chairman of the party here. We are having leaders from the Youth League. We have leaders from the Women League. And we have a number of leaders who are congregated here for the purpose of welcoming me to start serving immediately after I will have pronounced myself on this press as the 4th Secretary General of the ANC party. I know that there had been talk that would wound up the parties that have come together to form Kenya Kwanza. So I want to put it clear that ANC party will remain a party doing its activities independent, but within the coalition. that we shall undertake revamping of the party, and to revamp the party, beginning tomorrow, we shall be organizing to meet all the organs of the party in their totalness, and also after that we shall then move to meet all the branch leadership around the country through a caravan that we shall move around the entire country to visit all the counties and the leadership of the counties, given, as you know very well, that the party leadership lies on the ground.
Slight correction, the Azimio protests were scheduled for today and not tomorrow, as I had suggested. And on that note, we take a short break on Newswatch tonight. Don't go too far. We have plenty more coming up.
Family Discipleship Conference 2023 is here. Tune in on Hope TV from this Wednesday, 3rd May of 2023 to Saturday, 6th of May, as we bring to you this life-transforming conference. The keynote speakers will be Sit-and Presiding Bishop Reverend Callisto Odede, Pastor Kinsley, and Pastor Mildred Okonkwo from Nigeria. The theme of the conference is The Choice. Also be sure to follow us on our online platforms, Hope TV, Look and Live.
Expect the unexpected on the Stars Show.
It's forever enough, always enough.
Anything goes from singing, dance to gymnastics to mind-blowing art. All you need is a skill and a star quality.
I'm 5 levels in the masqueta.
Make sure it is very straight and clean.
Just remember to join us every Saturday with me, your host, Tamika Arnett.
Welcome back. Now, Mumia's East Member of Parliament, Peter Salasia, has opposed the move by President William Ruto to introduce a new funding model for universities and technical and vocational education and training TVET institutions that will be student-centered, predictable, and that will encourage the institutions to seek other revenue streams. The lawmaker, while addressing the press at Parliament building, said the new funding model locks out students from poor backgrounds, hence denying the majority of them a chance to university education. The new framework will be applicable for the new cohort of students joining universities and TVETs and does not increase tuition fees. Under the new model, universities and TVETs will no longer receive block funding in form of grants based on differentiated unit cost currently in use. Instead, the government has resolved that university funding will be apportioned to individual students according to their level of need.
Yesterday, we were in the Parliament and we were with the Minister of the CS of Education, and he assured us as members of Parliament that there was a new model that was being announced by the President in the new funding of the universities that will heal the problems of the universities. But after now listening and studying about the new model, whereby they are talking about to empower, to give the scholarship of 45,000 students alone, it's just like a drop in the ocean. In summary, when I analyze that thing, I realize that it's like a removal of the support that majority of our people have been, young people have been enjoying in the universities. Because if you talk about the 45,000, it's like in each constituency you are going to take only 1,155. Like recently, I had advertised for the bursary. In my constituency only alone, those ones with the few, the 80%, they have been supporting. The 20%, the population who applied were about 1,000. And now you are talking about 150. So for us, we are supporting the former program that has been there, and that one should be supported because the universities, like Egerton that have failed is because of the corruption that was there by the former Vice Chancellor. So the only thing that the President can do is to support, send the monies to the universities as it has been used to be. But this thing of removing is going to bring corruption. That model is not going to work. It's not going to bring, in fact, it's going to bring more problems. The education for the universities is going for only the rich people. And as you know right now, you cannot be employed in a bank without a degree. It means the poor children are going to stay at home.
The Kenya Sanitation Alliance has held its 4th summit in Narok County with an aim of eliminating open defecation in the country by 2025. The alliance, funded by the government of Kenya in collaboration with the government of Japan and United States Agency for International Development, USAID, brought together 15 counties with the highest rates of open defecation. Speaking to journalists during the summit, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene head Aidan Mohammed said over 60% of diseases treated in primary health centers were easily preventable.
Today we congregate here for one journey, and is to respond to the issues that we have declared in our constitution that is a right for every Kenyan, and this access to safe sanitation. The 15 counties that have been mentioned that are a burden in terms of sanitation have been on this journey for several years, and Narok is being one of them. The 15 counties are largely rural and semi-arid counties that have got poor access to resources, poor access to health facilities, poor access to water, and also sanitation doubles up to be a challenge to these communities.
This is why as a county we will be in front line to make sure, even if it is using open barazzas, we do a lot of create a lot of awareness on what are the importance of people having latrines in their homes. Obviously, we have said that in terms of health, in terms of economy, in terms of a good well-being, sanitation is leading.
We've managed to deliver 316 villages since 2021 with our development partners helping us. And today we've as a county also committed to put our local resources into sanitation activities, and we've signed a commitment as a county to allocate money, not less than 10 million.
The Iyala African Legislative Assembly legislator David Sankok has educated Ma locals on the importance of planting trees in their homesteads in order to conserve the environment. Sankok noted that the community lost almost 80% of their livestock during the dry spell that has been experienced within the country in 2022-2023. He further said that he has drafted a bill in Iyala that will help the East African community countries on the environment conservation measures through planting of trees. The legislator urged area residents to adopt the tree planting in their homesteads by setting aside half an acre to plant trees to promote tree coverage in the country to attain 30% of the tree cover by 2032.
Turudishe tafadhali memory ya kupanda miti kwa mashamba kidogo senye tuko nayo, badala kupoteza ati wakati kusema wacha twende tukachuga ng'ombe. Ng'ombe sasa mahali ya kukulisha si imeisha. Heri tupande miti na tuchukue nafasi ya Ole Sankok ametufundisha maneno kama hiyo, ati shamba eka moja inatoa 6,500,000 ndio inatoa mkipanda miti. Hiyo itasanunua kila kitu inayotaka.
Niko na bill ambao nimeshatengeneza kwa sababu ya kuhimiza njia ya kupanda miti katika East Africa Community. Kwa sababu Kenya isipokuza mazingira na tukue na kiangazi ambao tumeshuhudia mwaka huu na mwaka ile ingine iliyopita, basi mito ambayo itakauka sio ya Kenya peke yake, ni ya East Africa na Afrika mzima. Kwa sababu Mau Forest is the second largest
forests after the Congo Belt in Africa. Na mito mingi ambao inatokana kwa Kenya ni mito ambao pia inasaidia nchi zingine za East Africa. Bila Mau Forest, Sondu River na zingine na Mara River, basi maji ya Lake Victoria itapungua.
Now in business, the government has pledged to offer better prices for macadamia nut farmers in the days to come, following months of a slump in prices to as low as 20 shillings per kilo. Local processors have been buying macadamia nuts from farmers at a throwaway price following the ban on exportation of unprocessed nuts by the government. However, with the lifting of the ban 3 weeks ago by Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria, prices have started showing signs of improvement as competition rises with the opening up of market outlets across the world. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi said following the government's intervention, prices had started rising, with a kilo currently selling at 65 shillings, up from 20 shillings a month ago.
Tumesema haiwezi kuwa mkulima atalipa ama grinding system ya makandamia ni kupitia kwa kichungi na kusema hii ni ndogo, hii ni kubwa. So tunataka kuleta njia moja ya kutumia grinding ambaye SGS inatupea ripoti, ili wale watu tumeongea nao kutoka pande ile ya China, wale wanaenda kununua makandamia watumie hiyo that grinding system. And I want to commit from here, in this month of April, from next May, from next week, we will have pushed the price of macadamia from the current 65 to 100. And depending on the results from SGS on the quality of macadamia in the country, by the next month, we want to ensure that a kilo of macadamia will be able to fetch a minimum of 150 shillings. So we are really concerned about the well-being of our farmers, so that they really appreciate.
Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has exuded confidence in the government's economic recovery program. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva lauded Kenya's decision to prioritize investment in agriculture and micro and small enterprises, MSMEs, that offer quick turnaround results. Georgieva said the government's dynamism of investment, prudent fiscal measures, and transparency in government have set the country on the path of success. She said IMF is ready to join forces with the government to fast-track the country's economic recovery programs. President William Ruto said the government had cut down on new projects and stopped subsidy programs that were draining the country's resources. He also thanked IMF for its continued support, pledging to continue working towards making the country's domestic market attractive through the management of interest rates. Well, now we want to take a short break on Newswatch tonight, and I know you've been waiting for Candid Conversations, and it will be coming up shortly, where we are discussing about parenting teenagers out of addiction and other self-harm activities with love. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you for watching Hope TV, the station where you look and live. For feedback regarding our programming, you can WhatsApp us through 0708 222 323, SMS 22232, website www.hopemediakenya.org, or scan the QR code below.
Hope TV is where you look and live, with an excellent selection of the best Christian programming consisting of local and international content, of inspirational stories, talk shows, Bible commentary, youth, health shows, children entertainment, contemporary gospel music, extended times of worship, live broadcast, news, movies, drama, Christian ministry programs, and so much more. Hope TV is another quality service from Christ is the Answer Ministries with over 45% of authentic and credible local content every week. Hope TV is a sister station to Hope FM, Kenya's leading Christian radio station with footprints across the country. Tune in to Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome to Candid Conversations with Tess. Tonight we are joined yet again by Reverend Jane Jasmine Ng'ang'a. Karibu, and thank you for making time for us once again.
Once again, yes. I really enjoyed our conversation last week.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you have gone through. Somebody was asking, how old is Reverend Jane? Because you don't look like what you have gone through, and you also don't look like you have a 24-year-old son.
I'm on my way to my 5th floor.
What?
Yes.
What can you say? Give us a tip of anti-aging tip.
Jesus, anytime Jesus.
What?
Yes.
You are headed to your 50s.
Yes, yes. I'm in my mid-40s, so I'm heading there.
Great.
Yes.
So let's get back into the story of the recovery of your children.
Yes.
Let's start with your son. When you found out that now your son is in drugs, how was the journey like getting him out? And what, even as you help parents, because children out here are hooked on different things.
Yes, yes.
And they don't even know where to start. What was your journey like?
Okay, after all what I shared last week, it came to a point. I started helping now my son to get out of it because he couldn't even proceed with the college. So he came back home, he was messed up. He was in the drain completely. So, and I remember one time, and I know parents won't understand what I'm about to say, I asked him because, you know, when you're helping a child, and especially a teenager who is in that status, you have to understand them. You have to love them regardless.
Talk about this love. You know, I listened to your story.
Yes.
And I heard that at some point, you decided to start measuring.
That's what I wanted to say, yeah.
Measuring the amount of, was it
Bangi, yeah. That was my first time to see Bangi or to know how Bangi is done or ile kusokota. It was through my son. It reached to a point I told him, now we have to come into an agreement because he's willing to stop. But because the addiction he was already addicted, it wasn't easy. So he told me, Mom, you know, I can't just stop because nitachizi. So I told him, now what do we do? He told me we have to reduce the amount. He used to do 7-8 rolls a day.
What?
So we started reducing by one, and then...
Every week?
Every week. So he showed me on how, I used to tell him, now you have to show me how to do it so that I do it for you and you do the puffs and I keep it in my pocket.
What?
So we wait for 3-5 hours.
This is out of this world. Somebody will say you are encouraging your
son.
son.
Know, with love, you can do anything. I was helping him. I wasn't doing it at Ile joyfully. No. After that, I used to go to my bedroom and cry and tell God, I didn't do this in my life. I've never tasted beer. I've never done anything. And now I'm helping my son to do this so that I can see him delivered.
Talk about a mother's love.
Mother's love. Mothers can do anything, even fathers.
How long did it take for him to get out of drugs?
No, it was very short because this style of trying to reduce, it didn't work. One day, I remember I was going for, in our church we start prayers every beginning of the year. So I decided, let me go to Heaven's Gate and do my prayers there. It was a 3-day fasting and then I proceed. And I remember as I was preparing to go and I told my son, you know, I'll go for 3 days. So this is money for food and everything. Wait for me after 3 days. He told me, Mom, there's something I want to tell you. He said, Mom, you've showed me love. I have taken you through hell on earth. And this is what I want to tell you, Mom. From today, We are not even going to reduce. I have decided to stop completely. And he put them on the table. He told me, Mom, let's just do whatever you want to do
At
with
this point, how many roles is he taking so that he can now quit?
We used to try. He goes to 5, 4, 3, and then he goes back to 10 or even more. Because, you know, not every time I'll be able to roll that thing. So he used to roll, sometimes he used to roll without me knowing, and then he does the pass, and I'm like, now he told me, Mom, because of that love, and because of what I've taken you through, knowing very well you are a servant of God, from today I've decided to quit, and I will never try again.
And he kept his word?
Yes, to date.
How do you explain that? Tell a parent, you know, a parent is listening and wondering, mine, will it really work? Will this child stop smoking, drinking, whatever it is?
Love conquers all. You know, anytime you try to reason with a child when he's or she is in that condition, you won't get anywhere. Just love them. I remember there was a time he came with piercing all over his face. And I told him, I looked at him and I told him, son, I want you to listen to me. I love you so much, and nothing you will ever do that will reduce the love I have for you. And I think after that, then he went out, and when he came back, because after that, I went to my bedroom and I locked myself. I prayed. Every conversation, I used to back it up with prayers. I prayed, I told God, you know my heart, I'm a human being. I'm hurting, but I can't show my children what is going through. I was also into depression. And when he came back, he came opening my door. He found me on the floor, on my knees, crying. And I think those are the things that I think he realized, no, I will kill my mother. So that's how my son got recovered from.
How is
the
he
journey.
today?
Oh, today he's a gentleman. He is a, you know, he didn't proceed with his college. So God opened a door late last year. He went to Australia.
Wow.
He's working there. He went back to school. I'm not paying even a penny. Actually, the course he chose, he's paying 18 million.
What
18
is
million
he doing in
Kenyan shillings.
school?
He's working and he's able to pay for his school fees.
18 million?
18 million. The whole course will take 18 million.
You know,
he's
when
paying.
this story is almost like out. I've watched movies and series. This one is on another level because this must be God.
It can only be God, Jess. It can only be God.
That your son can be able to pay his 18 million fee.
Yes, without asking. Last year in September, he paid for during my birthday. He paid for our tickets, me and my daughter. We went for a vacation in South Africa.
What?
Yes, he paid a 6 days vacation for us, ticket and everything.
Pastor Jane, the God that
rewards,
you serve.
and he knows how to restore. And when he decides to restore, he doesn't just restore. He restores in a way that you've never even thought of.
So let's go to your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter also, she got depressed, and especially when she joined Form 1. That's when the depression started. And now, because when the dad was still alive, he used to brainwash them and to tell them, your mother is very bad, that's why I beat her. She's a witch, and one day she will kill all of us, and all that. And my daughter, because she was young, and she thought, you know, he used to pretend that he loves my kid so much. So my daughter was like, okay, it's daddy who loves me. And remember, I was the breadwinner, so I'm the one who was working, not him. So most of the time, he's the one with the kids at home, because I have to go to work to raise money for rent and for food and school fees and everything. So she thought daddy loves me more than my mother, because my mother lives in me every morning. And I'm always with my father. So he used to brainwash her, and she hated me so much. So when she joined Form 1, I remember I used to go for visiting, and she used to hide. I go there, I can't see my daughter until when I'm leaving. That's when she'll come back, just to say goodbye or to take the stuff maybe I had brought to her. She hated me so much. So late last year but one, she got worse. And She actually, when she joined Form 1, she started harming herself. Kujikatakata.
What?
Kujikatakata. If you see those photos here, Tess, you won't believe it. My daughter tried to commit suicide so many times. And I used to take her to counselors, and she used to tell them, I hate my mother. She used to write letters to her dad and tell her, I wish I can die like the way you died because I can't stand my mother. I hate her.
What is it that she hated about you, really?
You know, it's what the dad used to tell them. She thought that at some point I will kill her. But I thank God because he gave me the grace to love her regardless.
Where is this? You know, I listened to your story, and from your husband, I see no bitterness.
Yeah.
You towards him,
Yeah, I
and
have
even
no
towards
bitterness.
your children. There are parents who have gone through half or quarter of what you've gone through with their children.
Yes.
And some could be bitter.
Yes.
What kind of heart is this of love?
I think loving God has helped me a lot. Because at some occasions, I ask myself, if Jesus was here, if Jesus was here, what could have happened? How could he take this? So sometimes I put myself into the feet of Jesus and I'm like, I am Jesus. I'm representing Jesus here. These are my kids. There is nowhere I can take them. I have to work it out. I have to help them come out of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I loved my daughter. I took her to so many, there's a counselor, family counselor who used to work with us. She's called Counselor Mary. And she's a nice lady and a mother too, because she helped her so much. She hated her brother because he used to separate my husband was using this divide and rule. Yeah, hate your brother, hate your mother. It's only me in your life. So, but I thank God because as we continue to love her and even to embrace her, even when she's down, I used to encourage her and all that. My daughter came back to her senses. I even transferred her from school to school, because she thought that transferring will help her heal. And at some point I remember, because if you want to help your child, you have to win their trust first. So I remember at some point she told me, Mom, you know what? Not that I hate you, but there's this strong feeling that I feel inside me. I don't know where it comes from because I can see the efforts that you're doing because you love me. And I told her, now we can reason together. And we started the journey. And let me tell you, today we are best buddies with my daughter.
What happened in the middle of the journey? Is it
in the middle of
counseling,
the journey,
therapy?
There was counseling, there was therapy, and then I stood in and I told her, you know what, we can work it out. Whatever is that makes you hate me, we can work it out. And we started. I tell her, tell me, what do you hate about me? She says, no, I have nothing I can point out, but please help me to love you back.
As a pastor,
Let's
do you
pray
think
together.
this was more of a spiritual thing than...
I think it was. I think it was. The spirit that was operating in her daddy was transferred into now the daughter, because my son never hated me like that. So we came to a conclusion and we decided to raise a family altar, of which since then to date we do it every day.
So today, what does your daughter do? How is she?
She's very well. She's doing very well. We do positive confessions every day, positive affirmations every day. Even when I'm on safari, when I travel and I'm not at home, we do it on phone. We decided from today till the end of the age, we will be doing this. And that has really helped us.
That's amazing.
And she tells me, Mom, I thought you are evil. You are not. You are like my God. You are my small God, Mom. I love you so much. And anytime I say that, I get emotional because this is something I was crying for every day.
In prayer?
Yeah, in prayer. Actually, when I travel, she sleeps on my bed. She says, Mom, this is the only way I can connect with you.
Oh.
Yeah, and God opened a door. After that, the healing took place. Doors started opening. As we are talking right now, we got an admission in Guilford University in the USA.
Wow.
Yes. She
for
said
her?
Yeah, for her. In 2 months, she'll be traveling to the US.
Glory to God.
You see, God.
God really knows how to compensate.
We should not give up in life. Yeah, He knows. If only you are patient enough.
That's amazing. Advise a parent out there who is struggling with a teenager. who's doing weird things they may not even understand. You see, there are so many things happening today. We have cults like Shakahola.
Yeah.
Children have run away to go to follow somebody who is deceiving them. Others are into drugs. Others are into many different vices. How can parents deal with teenagers, especially in that time where they look rebellious? Yeah.
One thing about parents, we need to understand that there are transitions in life, in every stage of life in our children. So when they get to a certain, especially when they get into adolescence, that's when they change. That's when the disconnection starts. Because when they are young, they tell you everything. But when they get to adolescent age, that's when they close themselves up. They don't share every information. You don't know what is happening with them. So, number one, you have to win their trust. You have to win their trust no matter the cost. It doesn't matter. You have to win their trust because, especially women, mothers, may the Lord help us. Some of our kids, they are not willing to share what is happening in their world because they are scared we are going to share with our friends. You know? So to win their trust, you have to make sure, you have to assure them that you are trustworthy. Whatever information they share with you, don't share even with anyone. Even if they are not willing to share, even with their brothers or their siblings, don't share it out. Because I remember at some point when my daughter was still struggling, at times when she goes down or maybe she has harmed herself, vibaya, I used to call my son and I tell him, oh, you know what has happened? And she used to tell me, Mom, I didn't tell you to share. So I learned something. I didn't tell you. That's her brother, but she doesn't want him to know what is happening. So number one, win their trust. Number two, be willing to work to help them out. To help them out, that's when I was with my son. Okay, how do we do? What are we supposed to do? Okay, I can't just stop. So what can we do? We stop kidogo kidogo. Then show me on how to roll. So that you have to prove to them that you are in it also. Okay, you're not going to utavuta, but you are in that.
Yeah.
You are willing to help them out. That's what I did. And with my daughter, I told her, now what are we supposed to do? Okay, Mom, when you see me down, don't talk to me. Okay, I respect your space. That's another way to help them come out of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Number three, we need to understand that adolescence is an independent stage. You have to give them space. Don't be clingy. You know, parents, sometimes you are like, okay, I want to know what is happening in your life. And then you start asking questions that are not pleasing. You have to minimize your questions. And before you ask, you have to expect anything, you know? Yeah, you have to listen to them. They want someone who can understand them, someone who can come to their level and at least listen to their views, because they also have a right. Yeah, whatever you think it's right, maybe they have a different version of what you think. So you have to be willing to sit down with them and reason together. And lastly, you need to understand that you are the caregiver. The caregiver, and especially those who maybe work in hospitals and all that, it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. You also need to work on yourself. Yeah, like me, I didn't, before then, I used to think counseling is not important. So when I was dealing with these kids, I realized I also need counseling.
Actually, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
How was your personal journey? Because you went through a lot.
Yes, I went through a lot. And I thought I'm okay. I wasn't. I wasn't at all. And let me tell you, the worst thing that can ever happen to any parent is when the kid is in a drain and there's nothing you can do about it. That was eating me up.
How are you coping with all these things?
It wasn't easy. I used to cry like every day. When I get to the bedroom, outside here I'm smiling, but when I get inside there, I'm crying. That used to eat me up. Actually, sikuwa napitisha 51 kgs.
Wow, you lost weight?
I lost a lot of weight. I had so many health issues. Yeah, depression. I was depressed, but I didn't know I'm depressed.
How did you overcome?
I started doing counseling. Yeah, I started going for therapy, and there's this lady, and may the Lord bless her so much, Counselor Mary. Sometimes I used to go for the session, and she tells me, today we are not sharing anything. Let's go out for a coffee or for lunch somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, and God helped her so much because she made me realize that there's still good people in this world. Because I thought, okay, all people are the same. My mother was the same. My dad, who didn't even care. I was raised by a grandmother who was very violent. She didn't understand us. Okay, she was mentally retarded. I grew up with my mom's step brothers and sisters who used to hate us so much. They used to beat us a lot. So this lady helped me to understand that this journey, I have come from somewhere. I didn't know that. Yeah. So counseling, you are a caregiver, you need to take care of your emotions. Because sometimes when you are depressed and you are dealing with someone who is also depressed, you can't get along. You are both sick.
But now you are well.
Today I'm very, very, very much
Actually,
okay.
so well that we cannot leave this episode without talking about your new chapter in life that God has opened a new chapter. Tell us, you are actually engaged?
Yes, I am.
Tell us about this chapter.
You know, when God restores, He restores everything.
Wow.
Everything that you lost. If you trust God fully, He will surely restore. So after healing, because I can say, this is my third year for healing. That's what I can say. What I experienced today, I didn't experience for the past 42 years.
What?
Yes. And
they say that life begins at 40.
At 40.
It looks like it's true.
So after healing, I think I started attracting now the right people.
Wow.
Yeah. And as usual, I wasn't looking for love. I was so much wounded. Even after healing, I didn't trust anyone. And this friend used to preach. Long time ago, like I think, because I came to know him in 2012 through Facebook. And then at some point we met through the work of God. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know he's single. I didn't ask. He didn't tell me. So last year, he traveled, after a few years, he went to the US to work there. And as usual, he came last year for vacation or something. And he remembered, there's this friend, I don't know what happened to her. Even when my husband was very sick, I remember he used to call, and sometimes we used to meet, he prays for my husband.
What?
Little did I know that it will end to this. And he was very honest. He never showed me anything.
At that time?
At that time. And for sure, he didn't have anything because I was a married woman. And he was a pastor. He was ministering. So I remember, so when he came last year, he texted me and he said, Pastor Jane Jasmine, I would like to meet you. I would like to know how you are doing and all that. I'm back to the city. I didn't know he left because, you know, there are those friends that you don't even follow up on what is happening with their lives. So when he came back and he said, he texted me, I was in the village, and said, I want to see you. Kumbe, he went to my Facebook and realized I had changed my status. Because on my
he didn't know your husband died?
He left before my husband died. Yeah. So when he came back and he was looking for this friend of his, he realized, oh, she's a widow. And he has been single. So he was like, okay, then we can hook up. So when he called and I told him, maybe we can meet after a week because I was doing something in the village. He waited and we met. And he told me, you know what? I've been praying for a while.
Hallelujah.
I hope you accept my proposal. And I was like, okay, give me time to think about it. And we actually connected in a way that I've never... Okay, there are so many people who came for the same. But I didn't feel the connection. But with this one, I was like, this is it. After 1 month, he got me an engagement ring.
1 month?
Yes.
I thought in the previous episode you told us not to rush.
No, I haven't gotten married. We are still learning.
Okay.
So
but
actually,
you felt safe enough
I wasn't even expecting the ring. I remember I was preaching somewhere and he was waiting for me in a hotel, in a Java hotel somewhere. And when I went there, he told me, you know, I have few weeks to go back to the US. And I want to tell you this, that I've loved you so much. And I would like you to be my wife. And you know, it's in a hotel somewhere, and guys are watching. And then I was like, he stood up, he had a ring. I didn't know he had a ring. Stood up and, will you marry me? And I was like, I told you to wait. He said, no, it's just a ring. It's just an engagement ring. So we are still hoping that things will go on the right path. And we are praying about it. Yes.
But it is a big congratulations, because this just sounds like God can rewrite your story. And what would you encourage a widower out there, or a woman who's gone through, or even a man, because there are men who are also left by their wives, who are out there and they would like to remarry after death, the death of a spouse.
After the death of a spouse, there's still a second chance. If only you remain faithful to God, because faithfulness also pays. I decided to close myself and not to tamper, or maybe to be careless. I decided to close myself and be that woman. And actually I was telling God, most of the time I was telling God, even if I'll never get married again, God, I'm okay with you.
You know, I remember meeting you, I think this was last year.
Yes.
And I asked you, would you want to get married again? And you told me,
I wasn't ready.
You know, so hearing this is just a testimony that encourages so many other people. And also about the ministry that you do. For me, when I look at your story, I find that God delivered you from so many things because you had a purpose. Tell us about the ministry you do today and how it's impacting lives.
Actually, God opened up every door that I ever prayed for. I have been serving for the last 23 years.
Wow.
As a pastor, and then I was ordained as a reverend in 2013 through Word of Life ministry before I joined CITAM. And I have never experienced grace like the grace I'm experiencing in this season.
Wow.
Actually, that's what I was telling my man. Okay, if you're ready to marry this woman, know that you're marrying another grace that maybe you never expected to have in your life. International grace. Like in every year, last year I traveled to 5 countries.
Wow.
This year, I think it will be 5, 6 countries.
Ministry.
So far, I've done 3. Yes, ministry.
Wow.
Invitations all over, new connections, new dimensions, new levels of ministry. And when I stand to minister by the grace of God, I'm actually amazed of what God is doing. I'm amazed what God is doing. Yes. So, and connecting with this ministry, GALN, it's also a miracle because it is they have given me also a platform.
How did you get this platform?
This one, I got it through my spiritual father before he died. He died in through Corona. It's Corona which took him away. And I remember he told this founder, he's called Apostle Adesanya, Hezekiah Adesanya. He's the founder of GALN. He told him they had a calling, both of them, the elderly people, and they had a calling to reach out to the whole world through ministering to ministers. Because you have a college of bishops. That's the one I lead. I'm not a bishop, but okay, I was affirmed as a canon last year in Nigeria.
Congratulations. Many hearts indeed.
Yeah, many hearts indeed. And okay, but I'm okay with the level I am right now. And he told, my spiritual father told Apostle Adesanya that I have a daughter in Kenya. And I want to tell you for sure, if you connect with her, your vision will go to the next level. Our vision will go to the next level. So we started, the 3 of us. That's when we started, that was in 2021. That's when we started this organization. And let me tell you, right now we are over 40 nations. Like the conference we are going to have in Arusha this year in August, the attendance will be more than 9,000. Wow. We have 3,000 women that are registered right now to attend the conference. We have 3,000 pastors, bishops, pastors, apostles, evangelists, church ministers, and youths, because I have a passion for youths. I think it's because of what my kids went through and what I went through in my childhood. I have a passion for young people.
Maybe that is where we will do our parting shot.
Yes, yes.
Your parting shot to parents, to the youth.
To the youth, yes.
To society.
Yeah, to the society.
Yes,
society, we have to learn not to judge. We've killed so many young people because the society have become so judgmental. Parents, it is not easy to raise a youth, but let me tell you, this is a ministry. This is a calling. Raising a youth, a teenager is a calling. May the Lord help us parents to understand our youths today. Church, we need to accommodate our youths and get to a level of an understanding with youths. Because there's a lot that is happening in our world today. And the youths are getting trapped every day, every second. We are losing our youth. We are losing young people into things. Look at this lady who stabbed her own daughter the other day, that video that was going viral. You know, some people are saying that she got into a cult or something. Maybe this young woman was into depression. If you dig her past, you will see a pattern that if only there was someone who worked with her through that pattern, maybe could have saved her soul, that daughter who died. And for the young parents, I wish I can go back. I wish I can go back to where my kids were young. This is the right time to raise an altar in their lives. This is the right time to create positive affirmations. This is the right time to create a character out of them. This is the right time. And you know what? We are busy. I know we are busy. And with our economy today, life is not easy. But we need to be intentional and create time for our children. I remember I was busy working for God, providing for my family. So at some point, I lost my track. I lost a point to understand their language. We need to come to our senses and understand our kids' language because they are communicating in so many ways. They are in their anger, they are communicating. In their joyful moments, they are communicating. In their many questions, they are communicating. So we need to come to that point where we need to understand their language. And with that version, you'll get to know where they are.
Thank you so much, Reverend Jane.
Yes.
I think we will have this conversation in some other form soon.
Yes.
But I really appreciate, and I believe everyone who has watched has appreciated your sentiments and your advice.
Yes.
And personally, I'm encouraged to see what God can do in the life of his people.
Yes,
that God can write a new chapter.
Hallelujah.
That you can smile again, that you can love again.
I'm actually writing a book.
Wow.
Sorry.
What's the name of the book?
1,000 Reasons to Smile Again.
Hallelujah.
I will launch it here.
Amen. Amen. It will be amazing to have you back even for that launch of that book, God willing.
Amen.
But for now, that is where we will conclude. Really, we thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you too.
And that is where we conclude Candid Conversations tonight. It has been great, amazing, mind-boggling. Just what God can do, indeed, no man can do. And that's where we conclude Candid Conversations tonight. Thank you for watching.